Here it comes. And it's live. And it's live.
Okay.
Look out now. Get ready. Because it's live.
Is it live though?
I don't know if it's live. I see that you're watching.
I see David House here.
David House.
James Moduling's here.
Oh, and Grimnil Gurgoyle. We're here.
Hello.
And Cheryl Ishii. Cheryl Ishii, did you know there was you probably know there's an alien on Star Wars named Ishii Tib. You must know that. And Emily C. Martin. I think that's cool that you kind of have the last name as a Star Wars alien. And Avery Wells.
Not to be confused with a Martian.
I mean, your name could be Cheryl Hammerhead or Cheryl Greedo.
I just saw a crazy video of a hammerhead
Shark
in Florida. It's chasing all these other sharks.
Whoa.
Speaking of
Yeah,
sharks,
I think hammerhead sharks are known to be pretty.
aggressive.
Yeah, I think
Soph
there's.
and I saw one of those, right, Soph? Yeah. That was crazy when we were fishing. Hey guys, what's up?
What's going on? We should probably turn the music down, huh? I didn't know it's
I'm
not
on
on.
it. I'm on
You got it? Okay.
DJ Ange in the house.
Sorry about that, Ange. I got so excited.
Okay.
Cheryl Ishii, you got to look it up. Ishii Tib. Amanda Putnam Palmer. It's May 19th, 2020. It's my mom's birthday today, actually. Yes. My mom, Carol DiTerlizzi, is celebrating her birthday. We sent her a bunch of homemade birthday cards. I hope she got them. We'll give her a call after we're done doing our silliness here. It is Slurs Day, and I hope you guys are doing well. We are, yes, Cheryl Ishii said her maiden name is Cheryl Hammerhead. See? I thought so. You know, I was going to work today.
You were?
And I should be working.
Wait, you're not going to work?
Well, I mean, maybe. I'm just going to show you guys a bunch of pictures. But, you know, Angie, we talked a little bit yesterday about this old monster manual thing that kind of happened over the weekend where I kind of was drawing and sharing some of the reference material. It ties into Mermaid, it ties into a bunch of things. This is the old 1993 Dungeons & Dragons Monster Manual. This was one of my first big gigs that I did for Dungeons & Dragons way back. I did a bunch of monsters for this. This was the first colorized version of the Monster Manual. Prior to this, it was the old black and white one that many of us grew up with. And I was very honored and excited to be a part of this. There were some other terrific artists in here as well. Mark Nelson comes to mind. There's my Cyclops. Anyway, it was a great experience. And this happened about a year or two before I met you,
I
right?
just saw angry emoji. What was that from?
Well, I don't know. Someone's happy. There's an orc. There's a slime. There's my owl bear. Anyway, how did I get this gig? Well, I had done a job for TSR prior to this, but I had also been sketching a lot of monsters like mad on the side, Ange. So I sent my, when I was originally contacted by the editor, I believe he was the editor. Let me check. Let me get his credit right. He was the project coordinator, Tim Beach. Tim Beach look, he even signed my book. Tim Beach contacted me and said he was very excited to have me participate in this first colorized version of the Monster Manual. And originally, I believe, the idea was that I would illustrate all 300 monsters. However, that seemed a little much. So I ended up doing, I think, a little over 100. As I went through my files, I found the list, actually. And I'm going to get to that in a second, Ange. But what happened over the weekend was this. I was going to do some mermaid drawings, and I opened up one of my Dover books. This one is a pictorial archive of women from 19th century. So it's all these great woodcut drawings of women. And I used to copy out of these books like so many of the Dover books from way back when. And as I was flipping through the pages, which I probably haven't looked at this book in a while, I saw this drawing here of this Grecian woman, I'm going to guess. And it instantly took me back to this. Wait for it. It's coming. It's not dragons. I should have doing this all one-handed. There it is. This is the Sylph, Ange.
Okay.
It was an elemental, and funny enough, we used Sylph in the Spiderwick movie. Remember that? There was like a wind thing. Anyway, this Sylph in the Monster Manual was copied from this Dover book back in 1993. And I realized, and so I started flipping through this Dover book and realized there was a bunch of poses that I copied from and used as reference for the Monster Manual. I don't have my sketchbook with all my sketches because it's part of the traveling exhibition. But as luck would have it, I actually had my original sketch. These are some of the sketches I did for the Monster Manual. There's my original sketch of the Sylph from way back when, from 1993. This was used for this. And then, of course, I did a redo over the weekend of her, which I'll post. And that got me thinking. So I started diving down deeper to see what other things came from Dover books. We've talked so much about Dover books on here. And I found a bunch of stuff that was inspired by Dover books. So what I thought would be kind of fun today would be to go back to the old original reference that I used for some of these monster manuals and do some redraws. I thought that would be kind of fun, Ange.
Okay.
What do you think? Yeah. So I keep going back to this bugbear. I'm going to zoom in on this guy and his armor. His armor is oddly specific. And that's because he's also out of a Dover book. He's out of a costume book that I think I've referenced before as well. But look at that. So the other thing I did today too, Ange, is I scanned specific pages that I used out of these Dover books because it is, after all, copyright free. And it's not like I'm going to sell them. But I will post them on the Fans to Fantasy after we're done today. And it also made my life easier because these books are a pain to have near me while I'm drawing. So there's a lot of kind of back in time stuff here that's kind of fun with this old monster manual that I thought was worth sharing. When I sent the original sketchbook to Tim, he sent me back a list of all the monsters he would like me to do, and he gave me notes on all the sketches that I had done. I'm so happy I saved this. So there's original correspondence there. And as I said, there's a sketchbook that has most of this, but I do have a few of the loose sketches here. Here's an early sketch of the Kobold that was used. I've got a few others. I'll just do a little show and tell before I start drawing, Ange. Because this is stuff that never made it into Realms. It's stuff I've never really ever posted. So there's some Beholders. Here's Giants and Ogres. I'll kind of flip through this. Here's some of the Gollums. And most of these were referenced from these Dover books.
I like that you're showing like orcs and stuff.
And we're getting...
And the dogs are going ballistic in the background.
Actual sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And so the cool thing that also happened, Ange, was I went back and really tried to find the actual reference. So like for this guy, the Kua Toa, I found... See that there's a little weird angle to his head, and I was able to find the Dover book that I used, the Dover image that I used for it. So we're gonna look at that one today. Anyway, these are some of the sketches, and then some of these sketches were more finished, like the Sylph. The dogs are so excited. They love Dungeons and Dragons. So here's the Dryad. I'll go to the Dryad here to give you guys a little CD. Here we go. There's the Dryad. Let me zoom. So there's the Dryad, the finished Dryad. Here's the original pencil sketch of the Dryad that I used. This was probably laser printed onto paper and then colored. And then here is the Dover reference from that same book, Women, that I used for the Dryads. It's kind of a cool way to kind of see some of the reference and the inspiration that was used throughout. I'll put this stuff away, but I do have the reference we'll keep handy. And I figured it'd be fun to kind of revisit some of these today. This one was actually pretty cool on D. Let's see, we're on dragons. I didn't do the dragons. The Displacer Beast is here. And here's the Dover from the Animals book. There's the actual pose. You can see where I did it and just turned it into a Black Panther. And I when I scanned these in, I scanned the entire page in because I thought it would be cool, because I think on more than one occasion I was looking not just at one image, but at multiple images on one page. So anyway, I thought it'd be fun to kind of revisit some of these monsters today, as I like to do, as I'm wont to do, Ange, and do a little sketching. Let me grab my paper. And then, Ange, if we get questions along the way. So I think, like I said, some of the ones I've been thinking of are these kind of fish creatures. I have a couple of the fish reference.
Everybody's digging the music today.
Oh, good. Oh, the other one I have too is okay, good. I've got a couple good ones that we could do. I forgot about the Troglodyte was a lizard guy, and I found the reference for him. So some of this stuff I totally was gone, Andrew. It was out of my brain. I didn't even recall using it. And the Troglodyte, I'll show this one really quick because I think it's a good example of how these.
What reference would you use for the mimic?
I didn't do the mimic.
I know.
I would find a reference of a trunk or something. Teresk. A thought eater.
Did you do the invisible stalker?
I did. There's kind of a joke there. I did send in artwork. Tim Beach, the designer, has the artwork, and it was a floating cigar and I think a sword. And he thought that was hilarious, but they didn't run with it. So the Troglodyte came from the Dover Animal book, and it really is kind of an amalgam of this lizard face. It's very similar to it. But then you can see I'm looking at the fins on the back of a basilisk and adding those to it. So it's definitely, even the patterning on his back is based off of this. So you can tell I'm looking not at any one reference here. I'm looking at multiple images. So that might be a fun one to revisit, Ange. What do you think? A lizard guy, or do you think we should do one of the fish guys?
Oh, lizard guy.
Lizard guy? All right, so we're going to try the lizard. We're going to try the...
Jason Stone. We have questions, T.
All right. Well, let's do some questions. I'm going to move this. I'm going to grab some paper and be able to sketch. I guess I got to sketch horizontal. Okay. What do you got, Ange?
Jason Stone, what book was the definitive book that made you want to write?
That made me want to write? Wait, didn't we get this question yesterday? A similar one?
Did we?
It was like, what science fiction book did you read?
No, that was what would you want to write?
Oh, that's right.
This is what made you want to write.
Golly, I don't know.
Like, what do you think is the most influential piece of literature?
To me?
Yeah. Who am I talking there?
I'm not sure. That's a weird... I mean, I grew up with so many books. It's kind of... I can't pin it to any one book and go... I'm not going to look at like Maurice Sendak as a little kid and go, I can do this. I think you just do it. You know?
Yeah, I could see that.
I read so much. I was such a voracious reader when I was younger. Not as much.
Well, I would say, listen, I don't know. I can't answer that question for you. But I would say, from knowing you many, many years, when you think back and you speak most fondly about a book, it would probably be Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, definitely. But that's...
But not just the story and the
it's the experience.
It was the experience.
Experience of my mom
Sharing.
reading it, yeah. That's really what it was. It was the experience of my mom kind of laying in bed next to my mom, kind of reading it.
And for me, Jason, for both of you, I didn't grow up. I've actually been talking a lot about this lately because I'm doing a lot of like press and interviews and stuff for The Magical Yet. I didn't grow up in a house that had a lot of books. But I did love like words and pictures together. Like I did love like the Archie comics. I loved the Sunday comic strips in the newspaper. So I loved the idea of words and pictures. I just got really overwhelmed when there were more words than pictures in books. And so For me, it really wasn't until after I met T that I kind of got reintroduced to this missing literary childhood.
Right.
And what I'd say the first book that I picked up on your shelf, because when I met Tony, it was like a grown man who was like 24 and being like, I want to illustrate books for kids. And you had like, art posters from kids' books on your walls. And I was like, okay, this is kind of creepy, but kind of cool. All right, let me see. Why is he so excited about this? And I remember going on your bookshelves and I found The Frog Prince Continued, which is written by John Sheska.
Yes, and illustrated by, wasn't Lane Smith, though.
It wasn't Lane.
Might be Lou and Fancher.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But I remember picking up that book, laying on the bed, reading that book. You were in the shower, and I was laughing out loud. And I felt in that moment, I was like, oh, this is what it feels like to be a kid that grew up loving books.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I remember very specifically the getting the Red Ranger came calling, Berkeley Breathitt's first kids book. Mm-hmm. And you and I tearing up at the end.
Yeah.
Reading it. We were like 20 years old.
Yeah.
And we were both like, oh my gosh, this, and then the idea that a book meant for children could make you emotionally feel the way, like a good song. And you and I both were like, oh my gosh, are you feeling this feeling?
Yeah.
Because I'm feeling a feeling.
I'm hooked on a feeling.
Oh,
Hooked on feeling.
I'm high on believing that you're in love with me.
Ooga chugga.
That is the Ooga Chugga song.
Yeah, that's it.
Ally McBeal kind of ruined that song for so long, and then Guardians of the Galaxy kind of saved it.
Yes, it's
That
true.
Ooga Chugga baby, just no.
So now you're using your original pose as inspiration, but looks like you're making it more dynamic by lifting that spear up.
Yeah, and I'm still, it's really probably, I'm still not even 100% on this. I almost feel like maybe he'd be holding the spear more like this. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of just playing, to be honest with you. I mean, I need to lift some of these lines out just so I can kind of see what's what. Let me see. Lizards kind of basically have these kind of wedgy heads. And then kind of tapered mouth. So I'm kind of looking at that just really quick on my lizard reference here to kind of see. Yes, I am trying to somewhat replicate the original pose. It's almost like what have I learned and how would I do it differently now, Yeah. I first came across the idea of this when Claire Windling, who's an amazing French illustrator, and she's a concept artist, she's done a lot of stuff. She would do these kind of limited convention sketchbooks, like you get at like Comic-Con or whatever, Ange. Mm-hmm. She had redrawn every single page of one of her sketchbooks and released it like 10 years later. And when you opened the book, you had the original drawing on one side and the redrawn on the other side. And I was fascinated. I thought it was magic because you really could see the growth. You laid the two next to each other. You're like, oh my gosh, look how much this person has grown as an artist. And so I thought from then on, I was like, I'm going to do that as an exercise from time to time. I want to redraw things I've drawn before just to see how I've grown and changed.
Deborah Priore, thank you. Frog Prince was illustrated by Steve Johnson.
Just Steve Johnson? Because I know Steve Johnson used to work with Lou. Yeah. So that's why I was like, did I say Lou and Steve? I don't know. I knew it was anyway.
Is it in focus, by the way? I see somebody mention that it was out of focus. Not sure how it's looking on your end, T.
It looks focused to me. I'm tapping it to make sure it's focusing. I'm thinking it's in focus.
Matt Schuler, I have some of those sketchbooks. Stuart Ing owns my bank account.
I hear that. Stuart Ing owns mine too. In fact, I do a spring cleaning of my books from every other year usually. And will give Stuart first dibs on whatever I've got to see if there's anything in there that he may be interested in. And I've done this for a lot of years now, and so he's got quite a backlog of stuff that I've gotten rid of, and I don't want any money for it. I've just told him to give me credit. So Ange came down to the studio one day and sees this gigantic Pinocchio art of book, and it was based on the Disney Pinocchio because it's so big because it reproduces Gustav Tengren's watercolor paintings at 100%, like at actual size. So it's really about as close as you're going to get to owning them. Anyway, this book is literally like $500. It's like I would never spend that much on a book. And yet here I got it because I had so much store credit. And Ange came down and I'm showing her the book and the receipt falls out and her eyes about fell out of her head. She was like, did you spend that much on this book? And I'm like, I wouldn't do that. No, I just have given him so many of my books as credit that I can treat myself. It just took me years to save up for it. Anyway, it's an amazing book. Ange's, yes, I have the Sleeping Beauty book as well, Matt. That one, that kind of emptied out my years of credit. Those were the two I did get, and I've been told that the Jungle Book and some of the others are also pretty terrific. But I gotta clean out my own bookshelf before I get there. But they are beautiful books. They really are, really amazing. So I'm kind of just kind of playing around with this. I hope you guys like it. I'm kind of doing the old Troglodyte from the first my first version in the old Monstrous Manual. So I'm looking at this guy primarily for my scales and head, and a little bit of this guy for some of the crests and stuff. And after I'm done today, I will scan. I will post these scans so you guys can draw from them too. As a public service, I also tried. I bought the online PD. It wasn't really a PDF, but I guess it is kind of a PDF. The ebook of the animals one that I'm always talking about, and that's what this is from. It's from this book here, Animals, that I've shown you guys 100 times now, and I just was tired of holding my broken version on here and trying to keep it from falling off, which is why I scanned it. The other thing was I thought, I'll buy the ebook so I can just select pages and print them out. You don't want to do that because the ebook resolution was so low that it was no good. So don't bother with the ebook. Go ahead and purchase a hardcover.
Yeah, we did just throw a couple. Well, we didn't throw them out. We put them out for
What's that?
free books out by the curb.
We did. Someone grabbed the last of them too, Ange.
They did?
Yeah, there was only a little bit left.
Yeah.
But someone took what was left.
We clean out the shelves because we get a lot of
so much books.
So we actually don't have room for all of them.
No.
So after we read them and enjoy them, we either donate them
to the library,
to our local library, or we will just occasionally put a box out by the road.
Which is what we did on this, since we figured no one's going to the library. So
it's kind of like a little free library, but you don't have to return it.
Yeah, it's just free. The emphasis on the free.
Ooh, Michael Harper got his junk pot yesterday.
Oh, fantastic. And Carolyn, yours went out today. So keep your eyes peeled for it if you're listening and watching. So anyway, yeah, I'm just kind of enjoying this kind of revisit to these old monsters that were so inspiring and influential to me.
Kevin, not at all. Kevin Sylvester.
What?
He said you could burn mine for fuel.
Oh, no, we
Not
wouldn't
at
do
all.
that. No. Placemats.
Kevin, you are so awesome. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge how supportive you are of our publishing community, not only as a participatory author, but also just, I always see you posting, story times and commenting on people's posts, and you know, you are an awesome supporter within the community.
You set a fine example,
Absolutely.
sir. That is, and that people don't realize that's a lot of work. I get exhausted from all the social stuff. I don't know about you. I know you do too, Ange. I want to do it all.
It's like a part-time job. Like, I really realized it when I would go on tour, and then you would finish events and be like, okay, now I gotta go and share all the things and tag the schools and the teachers and the publishers and the media escorts, and, you know, acknowledging everybody. It's like, it's a lot of energy, and I applaud anybody that takes the time to put it out there.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. You're right, because when you're on tour, you know, especially if it's an independent, you want to, you know, we always sign the stock, so they're like, hey, can you share with your people, you know, your fans, that we have signed books, and of course you want to do that and support them. And you're right, it's always, and it's an ever-changing landscape and algorithm, especially with I'd say Facebook and also then Instagram, because their algorithms are constantly being messed with. So you can't, you know, like for instance, if I was to post a link on my Facebook page that sends you somewhere else in the internet, like, hey, my book's available on Amazon, or it's available from this independent bookstore or Barnes & Noble, and here's the link, that visibility would be so low. It's one of the lowest things. Like, Facebook doesn't want you to leave Facebook.
That's true.
So it, you know, a lot of you wouldn't even see it. And even when I do like the promoted ads, and that's why I do the promoted ads, because I know some of that information just gets lost, and I can't tell you how many times, I still get people sending email like, hey, what time do you go live? You know, we've been doing it for 2 months, and people still don't know. So, you know, I'll often pay to boost a post, and even then it says like, oh, you have writing, you have words and fonts on your it's
like
going
the image where it says Drawn to Fantasy,
and they're like, it's going to get not as high visibility as it would if it was just an image, which is insane.
It is crazy,
because you're like, wait, why else would I'm not going to boost a picture of something just for that. I would want to create an announcement. It's just wacko.
I know,
but it's not my company.
It's kind of nutty.
I'm just here playing along like everybody else. Anyway, I'm kind of sketching around this. I want to try another head. And you know, the other thing is, before I...
Linda, how can I send a picture? Oh, I will post that to the Drawn to Fantasy page.
Which is
I
what?
will post the P.O. Box, which is Drawn to Fantasy, the fans of Tony DiTerlizzi's Drawn to Fantasy.
Here's a goodie. This is one of the few sketches, again, that's not in that sketchbook, Ange. So here's the finished Troglodyte. Here are some of the very first Troglodyte sketches I did. This is, if you look at the date, June 1992. There's the pose. And so he's much less of a lizard and more kind of a weird... And there's no reference here. He's just like, this is just drawing out of my head, this kind of slovenly lizard guy. But I thought that would be kind of cool. And then you can see I basically went with that pose and gathered reference. But I thought you would enjoy that little side trip.
I'm just curious, this is for my own curiosity. Is everyone here who watches and tunes in, are you all artists? I know I've seen much of your art on the Drawn to Fantasy fan page, but is there anybody who just watches this because they're fans of art? Is there anyone here who is an aspiring, or just a person that's curious about art that doesn't actually create it? I'm just thinking out loud here.
Like, are we primarily speaking? I'm guessing we're primarily speaking to artists.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm curious, or I'm curious to know: is everyone like an artist, or is it some people who are just fans of your art? Like, I was just both. Okay, you guys. This guy. because the reason why Eduardo is not says I am not an artist.
Yeah, no, he's just a fiance. Wait, Eduardo, though, you sent me the drawing, though. Isn't Eduardo the one who sent us the kappa?
Yeah.
Wait, Eduardo, is this yours?
Didn't you send that?
Just wondering, Eduardo, is this yours?
I draw, but I wouldn't say I'm an artist. I'm fun and a doll maker. I love that arena.
I love that. My mom made a lot of dolls when I was young.
Dorothy is not an artist. You're an art. I love art though, and I'm a fan.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm curious because I had an idea.
What's the idea, Anne?
My idea was I thought that maybe we could do an episode next week for those of us who are not artists, like myself. I am not an artist in the term of like drawing. And actually, I was talking to an illustrator, a comic illustrator friend of ours by the name of Mimi Pond. And Mimi actually asked me today, she said, I know that you used to do makeup, you do makeup, and that you are an artist in the kitchen, but are you, do you create art as well?
Right.
To which I said, no. I said, I do my best work in the bathroom and in the kitchen. But I was thinking maybe, because when I'm doing makeup.
Oh.
But I was thinking maybe we could do an episode next week, T, where you teach me how to draw something.
I could totally do that.
Because I'm not a good artist. I get really anxious.
You're a fartist.
When we go to Mo Willems' house, so our pal Mo Willems, if you guys know Mo Willems, Elephant and Piggy, Knuffle Bunny.
Don't let the pigeon drive.
Don't let the pigeon drive the bus. Diva and Flea with Tony.
No, they don't know that one. That one didn't do that well.
When we go over to his house, he has on his dining room table, especially for parties and get-togethers and gatherings, and I think they do every night, he has a long roll of that big kind of brown butcher paper. Craft paper that they cover the table in. And then he has crayons out, like fancy crayons. Not Crayola ones. Those are like some fancy crayons.
They're like these French.
They're like some
Conte style.
That he loves.
They're very rich in color. Like you really get a nice color.
And so he's always like, oh, and it's time for everyone to draw. And then I'm surrounded by like these amazing illustrators and all of you guys who can actually draw things on paper that look like the thing you picture in your head. That never happened. So maybe you can just help me learn to draw one thing that can be my staple to prepare myself for when we can finally get together with people again. And next time we have to go over to Moe's and I have to draw something, I will be prepared.
All right. What is it you want to learn?
I don't know. I have to think about it.
You think about what it is you want me to teach you how to draw, and I will teach you how to draw it.
Okay.
It's a deal.
Oh, the other thing Mimi Pond asked me is, had I ever done your makeup in drag?
I feel like you have.
No.
I feel like you've definitely put makeup on me before.
I feel like it was long ago.
It was very long ago. But I don't think I've ever.
I said, no, not recently. Maybe because Tony would just not really be an attractive woman.
No, it'd be horrible. I don't know if I could. I would just do a voice, and it would be not very good, not very appealing. That's an art form.
Oh my gosh, the dogs are nutties.
Nuts,
today.
of course. They haven't been down here all day. And now it is just playtime.
Ooh, a rainbow sparkle unicorn. I should learn to draw that.
Soph can teach you that. You don't need me for that.
Yeah, we could have Soph down here too. She could teach me. It should be about a day about teaching people who aren't artists how to draw something.
I'm in. I'm totally in. And I know Soph wants to do a day where she takes over and draws.
You still gonna do that, Soph? She said.
Yep, that's good.
Sure.
And then ran away. So this Troglodyte I'm really loving the feeling of him. He's got a nice feel. I'm not sure what's going on the back. I don't know if he's got a fin. I was thinking about the fin on the basilisk here. I'm not quite sure how to resolve that because it kind of takes away from this shape, and I really like this S shape, so I think I'm going to get rid of it.
Yes, the kappa was drawn by Alfonso.
It was.
Oh, Alfonso! Not Eduardo, I apologize.
Oh, Alfonso. Okay, got it.
I apologize.
All right.
Sometimes we do get mixed up with the 100 or so names that scroll so quickly.
Through here. All right. So
yes, and we want to be clear about that, right? Because we want to make sure we know who's going to
get married.
Get married.
What's the girl's name, Ange? Do you remember?
Dorothy.
Dorothy, yeah. She's
Look
like,
at that.
whoa. She's like, you guys are marrying me off to like how many people? Slow your roll.
Oh my gosh.
Did you like that? How I said
Wind
slow
is
your roll?
blowing today, and it is getting the animals all hyped up.
All right. So I think that's a good little sketch of a troglodyte. I could see myself finishing this.
Rebecca Thornburg said, I did a book called Jewel the Unicorn, and it came with sparkly stickers.
Nice. Hey, is it just me? You remember how like enamel pins were like the thing a few years back? I'm seeing more and more on sheets of stickers, like the old school, like remember how you go to Hallmark and you get a little pack and there'd be like 10 characters? Mm-hmm. I'm seeing more and more artists in that. Like it just, in my feed in the last week or two, I'm seeing more and more people doing that, which I would love to do a sticker pack like that. Old school stickers. Be kind of fun. I bet they're cheap to do.
Yeah, I'm sure they're super cheap to do. That's why people are probably doing them. They're like, these pins are too expensive.
These pins are too expensive, and no one's buying them anymore. Everyone's pinned out.
T, so I'm super excited.
About?
Because before I came down here to be with you today, I was upstairs looking at the sketches for a new book that I'm going to have coming out next year.
That's right.
I am so excited for this book.
Oh my gosh. Have you seen it?
Have you seen this book?
I don't know. I don't think anyone has yet.
No one has seen this book.
But they will.
They will see this book.
When can you share? Have you guys announced it or not yet?
We haven't announced it yet. But you guys, I'm going to be super excited for you guys to see the artwork in this book because it's an artist who I am so excited to be working with. It's not Tony. That's another one I'm working on.
Yes, that one's coming up too.
I'm so spoiled. I get to work with all these amazing illustrators.
All right, I'm going to switch. We're going to go from Troglodyte to one of the fishy characters, Ange. This is the...
Niels?
Wait for it. I think it's the Lokathaw. Lokathaw. I don't know if I can say if I'm saying that right. Here it is, the Lokathaw.
Who's your favorite illustrator you've ever met, T?
There's Lokathaw. So you can see he's got a very fish-like head. It was inspired by, believe it or not, this fish head. Look at all the spines and things going on there, and I just stretched it way out. I probably was also looking at these viper fish as well. So it's kind of just like the various lizards. And it's another one where I did the sketch, and the sketch was primarily just colorized for the final book. So this was the original sketch done back in 1992.
That's a good sketch.
It's not too bad.
I have to say, I think that's really good.
Not bad for 23. And the other thing is, and you can really tell, like, look at the streamline going down his side here. You can see it, like, you can tell I was looking right. You can see it on the fish I was looking at.
Distended belly.
That's just a self-portrait. That's pretty much all that is. But you can really see in the similarities here. I just mentally stretched it out. So I'm going to take another stab at the old Lokathaw and see if I can do what the new version.
Susie Ashworth, Tajik. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Said now that's a quarantine gut.
That's good. I'm going to just focus on the head really because I would normally draw this very vertically. So let me see if I can get something interesting with the head here.
Who's your favorite illustrator you've ever met, too?
My favorite illustrator that I ever met. Wow. Well, some illustrators are my friends, like Scott Fisher. You know, I mean, and I talk to him a few times a week usually. Jeez.
There's two different levels, right?
There's
favorite. Are you talking like favorite human being person, awesomeness, or are you talking like favorite artists that you were a fan of?
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Brian Froud, and, you know, Brian and Wendy have been here, and we've hung out with them multiple times. So Brian obviously was, you know, very, very important to me.
Oh yeah, that was another one where we're like, oh my gosh, we're having dinner with Brian and Wendy Froud.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big...
And we were young. That was
When we first met them? Yeah.
Matt Schuler, did
So,
you work?
I don't know if that was that a good answer? I don't know if that was particularly a great answer, but it's, you know...
It's kind of like saying to you, like, hey, who's your favorite friend? You know, because...
Yeah, some are more acquaintances, and some are people I know.
Like, we are fans of a lot of our friends' work.
Yeah,
And
support
then there's
them.
a lot of artists that we've met who we're just fans of that we aren't really friends. That we just
Yeah,
don't
that's a
know that
long list. You know, I mean, there's some artists that I've met that, you know, it wasn't I don't want to say it wasn't a love connection, but it wasn't like there was no deep connection. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean I don't like their art less.
Yeah, sometimes you think, oh my gosh, we love to draw the same stuff. We are just going to totally mind meld.
And sometimes that doesn't happen.
And sometimes it doesn't happen.
Yeah, and then there's other times there's people I meet and they are they maybe do things differently, and I get along with them great. Tom Engelberger and I are terrific friends, and Tom has a very kind of cartoony style the way he draws. It's not at all like how I draw. Oh, I'm totally going to get into this. All this intricate, these facial scales that are so intricate. I love.
Whoa, Dave Howe throwing down the Metallica quotes there.
Whoa, what's the Metallica quote?
Hybrid children watch the sea, pray for father, roaming free.
Ooh.
Let's see. All the folks who drew in our bathroom, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
You said that, Rebecca.
Yeah, definitely. And so, like, Robin Price Glasser, I mean, we've known her for years. She created and illustrates the many children's books, most famously the Fancy Nancy books, and, you know, we love her. And, you know, Judy Schachner and her husband Bob, they're terrific.
It's kind of, and it is kind of this thing where you're like, imagine, like, we don't get to see them all the time because it's not like we go into an office every day and see our workmates.
No.
But at the same time, we have this super deep connection because we all
Speak the same language.
Speak the same language. We're in the same field. And I also think, you know, we understand kind of one another's lifestyles, even though we're not in each other's lives every day.
I think that is definitely, I mean, that's real.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's, when I remember when the Spiderwick movie and all of Spiderwick was really kind of ramping up and kind of preparing for liftoff, and it got really busy. Like, it got crazy busy. I was pulled in a lot of directions, and I'm trying to keep the main thing, and you're getting offers to do all kinds of cool stuff. That was when, you know, we were like, do you want to do Peter Pan? Do you want to do this? You know, Alice in Wonderland? Like, it was, and then there's movie stuff on time. You're flying back and forth to Los Angeles and meeting with those folks. And I remember, like, it was hard to see the forest through the trees for me a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to miss out on anything. And I wished so badly that there was someone I could have reached out to that had kind of been through it, that I could talk to and get a little bit of it, like, guidance or perspective on it. And the only person you and I could think of was Chris Van Allsburg, but I don't know Chris Van Allsburg that well. I've spent some time with him. But, you know,
we weren't super friendly at that time yet with Bill Joyce.
No, didn't know Bill Joyce at all.
And now we know Bill. Like, now you could call Bill.
Bill Joyce and talk to Bill. So
talk to Brian Selznick.
Well, that's what I was going with it. Is when they announced the Hugo Cabaret movie, I reached out to Brian and just said, "Hey, listen, it's a strange ride. If you ever want to talk about it, you know, I'll at least share what I went through." And, you know, he took me up on that. I remember having some conversations with him really early on about the experience. And actually, Suzanne Collins. I mean, early on, Suzanne had kind
Today's a big day for Suzanne.
Yeah, her book's coming out. Her
new
new
Hunger Games book is out today.
And I remember, I met Suzanne. I was on the road for, I think, Wandla. And she was on the road for maybe the second Hunger Games book.
I don't know if you were on the road for Wandla because she blurbed Wandla.
Oh yeah, she blurbed Wandla. So I
blurbed
must have
the
been on the road for.
first Wandla book.
I must have been on the road for something else.
Yep.
Kenny and the Dry. I don't even know what it was,
Yeah.
but we did an event. We both spoke at a like a breakfast for booksellers, and I was really nervous. And I remember it was two things. It was in Minnesota because I did a gag where the Boston airport, I think Logan Airport, had just dedicated a thing to a bunch of like Boston and Massachusetts artists or something like that. And so I made up these slides of the Kate DiCamillo
what their
airport would be
look like.
in Minnesota because Kate DiCamillo is from that area. And anyway, I was really nervous, so I did this drawing of Katniss from the first Hunger Games book, and I think that's all I had read at that point. And I gave it to Suzanne, and she's actually a really big fan of art. She's a huge fan of art, and she really, really liked it. And we kind of stayed in touch. But I remember talking to her about the movie a little bit. I mean, she came from television, so she knew a little bit of what
She
was.
did a lot of TV writing.
Yeah, most famously, Little Bear, Maurice Sendak's Little Bear. She did. So it was pretty neat to. I mean, I remember she's you
and
telling.
This is the weird thing about being even the most successful authors and illustrators. Suzanne Collins, you had lunch with her when we were in New York. Soph and I were out bopping around. We come into the restaurant, and you're just hanging out with Suzanne, having lunch.
Just talking shop.
Having some fancy sushi. And I was like, and no one right now, how many millions of people were reading The Hunger Games?
Yeah.
Knew her books.
Yeah.
Seen the movies, and she's sitting right there, and no one knew.
Well, so New Yorkers generally don't.
Yeah, but I feel like you could go,
Yeah, I definitely feel like no one would have known.
It's nice to have that
Anonymity, yeah, definitely. There are a few authors who don't get that. Stephen King, George R.R. I'm guessing Joe Rowling, probably tough for her to be anonymous.
It's funny. I think it's such a funny thing when people are like, oh, what do you do? And you're like, oh, I write children's books. Or you're like, I write and illustrate children's books. Oh, what books do you write? Or what books do you illustrate?
Yeah.
Sometimes I just say Harry Potter because I'm like, you're not going to know.
Do you have children? No. Then you're not going to know.
Yeah,
you're going to know.
I just say Harry Potter. I just go, Harry Potter. Have you heard of it? Yeah, that's what you do.
That's what you do.
I like your fish.
Yeah, he's cool, man. He's creepy.
Yeah, he's very creepy.
He's creepy, but so was the original.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions while I'm drawing them? Just having some fun kind of reminiscing and looking back at these old Dover books and how they influenced me and such great.
Neil stopped by when you were interning with Peter Gross. Cool day. Awesome, Matt Schuler.
That's cool.
We did have a fun little moment at Comic-Con one year. We were there. We go to our dinner at the Hotel del Coronado, which is fun. I think we've mentioned before that we get out of the con and just take a little break. And it was pretty cool. Neil Gaiman was there having dinner with Miyazaki.
Yeah, he was with Hayao Miyazaki.
That was cool. You're like, there's Miyazaki, no way.
And then you're like, oh, of course Neil Gaiman's getting to sit with him. Only I want to sit with.
Stephen King is great, Angel said. He lived down the street from your uncle when I was younger.
Wow.
I met him twice and he was so nice.
Wow. You met him too, Ange, when you were on the Today Show.
Yeah, I did makeup for Stephen King. And it was kind of funny because Tony, of course, at the time was not a published author or well, you had done like D&D stuff, but you wanted to get into kids' books. And so I remember talking to Stephen King, and I was like, well, my husband, he wants to write kids' books, and I had this whole conversation. And I did the thing
that you hate?
That I hate.
Which?
No, I'm not going to say I hate it, which is kind of hilarious, but eye-rolling for authors, where I had told him this story about, there was a, and I journaled about this, so I have it upstairs in my journal because it was kind of just a funny story. I remember coming home. I used to journal when I worked at the Today Show, just all my different experience of working with different celebrities.
I didn't know you did that.
Yeah, it's up there.
Wow.
It's up there.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to go back through.
You know, I didn't do it very often, but that day in particular, I was so mortified and embarrassed that I did this.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, I have to write this down.
Okay.
So the week before, there was I think a governor from Texas or someone in government in Texas that had come on the show.
On the Today Show.
On the Today Show.
Okay.
And he was talking specifically about this barbecue joint that he loved down in Texas, that he was rattling on and on about, that everybody needs to try this barbecue joint.
Okay, sounds good.
And so then, like, several days later after the show, the Today Show gets delivered like 200 pounds of barbecue. Like an insane amount of barbecue.
From this guy?
From this guy.
Wow.
As a thank you. And then I was like, but I was kind of describing what the guy looked like to Stephen King and saying, I don't know, this guy personally, like, I think he could have just eaten all 200 pounds of barbecue by himself. I mean, he really looks like, that should be your next book.
Yes.
I did that thing. I did the thing of, quote, that should be your next book.
Yeah, let me...
And it's funny because I always hear that when people say that to Mo, and somebody will say, you should write a book about blah, blah, blah. And Mo always so graciously says, no, you should write that book.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So yes, but he was very, very nice. I heard he wasn't always nice though. He'd gotten in that accident where he was hit by a car.
Yes.
And I heard that he was nice after the accident, but I heard he wasn't necessarily always nice before the accident.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Knock some sense and some kindness.
Yep.
And some sense into him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just playing with the idea of this thing, like almost like a sea devil, like they've got horns.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Kind of cool, right? I don't know. I could really. These guys are pretty neat. I don't know how I would do the body now. I mean, I'm looking at these kind of wedge, that fish wedge head.
He does have a cool fence at his house, but I've seen that.
Oh, yeah.
His fence, his gate.
And his son writes too, correct?
His son wrote Lock and Key.
The graphic novel that was made into the show.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That's the other thing. I don't even know how I would do the feet on these guys. Would they be like frog, amphibian, Or would I keep...
Have you guys ever done a couples-themed costume? Penny Serrano Ramirez asks.
I think we have. I feel like I definitely think we've been...
always do.
Yeah.
You mean like Halloween costume?
Yeah, I'm guessing, right? I mean, that's...
Every year, pretty much.
Yeah.
We've done...
Snape and you were...
Bellatrix.
We were...
Star Wars stuff.
We've been Frankenstein.
And...
Yeah, because Soph will do it with us too a lot of times. We usually let
do.
Soph kind of pick...
Labyrinth. We did like a labyrinth ball couple.
Oh, yeah. Who were you?
You were Bowie.
And who were you?
I don't know. I just keep putting on that dress that was my bridesmaid dress for Holly and Theo's wedding. Which was like it was a masquerade ball theme. So we were masquerade.
Yeah, what was Soph's that year? I don't even remember. Anyway,
that year Soph was a...
My Little Pony,
My
I
Little
thought.
Pony.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that crazy that Joe Hill wrote Lock and Key, and that's Stephen King's kid? It's interesting. He doesn't have the King last name, right?
God, well, maybe he's purposely like, I don't want people to...
But, the funny thing is, so we were watching Lock and Key, and there's a scene where they're closing the door to an ambulance. I think it's the last episode. That sounds very last episode-y. And there's a guy, and I went, that looks like Stephen King.
One of the...
no, that's his kid.
One of the what is it? EMTs? Yeah. I wonder if that was him. You checking?
Yes.
Wants to know.
Yeah, I gotta check. Oh my gosh, that was him. That was him because he looks so much like Stephen King. It's freaky.
I sent Stephen King fan art way back when, and he signed it and sent it to me.
I mean, come on.
Holy smokes, that's crazy. There's Stephen King and there's his son. Wowskers.
Right?
That's
kind
crazy.
Of funny that you wouldn't use
it's
the
crazy.
King last name.
It's crazy. He's rocking the beard and the hair and everything, man.
Right?
The whole look. He's just going for it.
That's what I'm saying. When I watched that episode, I was like, oh, that's him. And then it reminded me, oh, because he wrote Lock and Key.
Yeah. Some people are saying they did.
Cameos.
Some people are saying they weren't huge fans of the show. I've never read the books, but I have heard that the show. The phrase I heard was it sands off the corners and the edges. That the books are a little more edgier, a little scarier, a little more horror, and that the show tried to play it a little safe. That happens a lot actually, where they you know, the producers, showrunners, or what have you get nervous and they're not sure if they've gone too far or not far enough, and so they try to play it safe, and then you end up with a weird thing that's neither fish nor fowl.
It's a weird thing, though, because when you do an adaptation, you have to do so many things, right? You have to take a story and turn episodes or film into kind of 3-act structure.
Yeah.
You have to appease the fans of the source material. You have to assume that the audience doesn't know about the source material, so that if your new audience is new,
Yeah.
that it has to be clear to them. It's a lot to do an adaptation.
Next one, I'm going to try this fish guy here really quick before we call it a day, Ange. The Kua Toa.
Angela, have you ever reached out to artists and said, I want to do a book with you?
Yes.
Many. Most of them.
Yes.
Most of the artists in the books that I've done, I've approached them directly.
Yeah.
Or, in the case of the new book that I'm doing, I reached out to the artist and I said, is this something you would be interested in? Because I would like to pitch you for this book. And he said, yes, I'd be interested in that. And so I pitched it to the publisher, to the editor, and she said, I'm not familiar with this guy's work, but I love it. And they presented it to the art director, and
off you went.
Off we went. He's doing the book. Ooh, Carolyn Pagan said I had to stop reading them. They were so dark.
Oh, man, maybe I need to get some of those.
They did take out the dwarves. You're right, in Spiderwick, Linda.
Yes.
Yeah, they have to, it's especially in a film.
Definitely in a film. I think in a TV show you have a little more, you'd be constrained really by budget more than anything else. But yes, the dwarves were cut very early in the adaptation process of Spiderwick. There was no way they were going to be able to do the entire dwarf scene. If you look, and Mulgarath's castle was being worked on, and they ran out of money on that too. But they were definitely talking about, there was designs and everything for Mulgarath's castle, which was a bummer. And they ended up moving the siege to the house, but I think that actually worked really well for the movie. It was kind of cool. It started with the house, it ended with the house. I thought that was kind of cool. I thought that was okay, but it was really amazing to see what Mulgarath's castle looked like. They had found an old abandoned factory that they were going to use. Cool. It was pretty amazing.
That is, and that's a consideration too. Budgetary constraints.
Absolutely, but I mean, I'm
moving everybody out to a new location as opposed to working within a location.
It's got to be safe. You've got kids involved, so you've got to make sure that they're not going to get hurt. So there's a lot of things they have to take into consideration.
Dorothy says, I want to write a children's book, and I want Alfonso to illustrate it.
What?
Yes.
We
need more.
Making magic happen. Making magic happen. Right here on Drawn to Fantasy.
Grimnall wants a remake done that includes everything.
So do I. And maybe we'll get it. You never know.
Says, what medium did you use for the Monster Manual colored inks?
Good question. Now, I do have a couple originals here that I can show you. Most of them are a part of the traveling show, but I do think there are a few here. Let me grab one. Of course, I say that now, Ange. I'm wrong. Here's some. Let me grab a good one.
Here, go through them over here, T.
I feel like I have more. These were done on very thin paper, like a laser paper. And there's a couple of neat things you can look here. That's the art director would have written that. That's the size that the piece would have been reduced by when it was shot for the book. These are Gollums. So let's look at the Gollums really quick because I want you guys to see, even on a phone, and even... Here you go. So here's the illustration in the book. And then here's you can see the size difference. And sometimes the coloration, there's a lot of blue in the book. And this looks pretty good. This has been kept in the dark. I think if it was hanging on a wall, it would be more aged. And I'll tell you why. Because these were art marker. So you can see here's all the marker through. So these were Prismacolor markers. So kind of the equivalent of Copics. There you go. There's when I actually finished it, March of 1993. So they were marker. They were the same ballpoint pen I use now, Ange, the Precise Permanent, on very thin paper. Like I said, the majority of these are part of the traveling exhibition, so I've got the ones that they didn't choose. There's a giant scorpion. That's exciting. Here's the other two Gollums. So there's the clay and the flesh Gollum. This is... a Germaline. Couldn't remember. He's like that's pretty proto-Spiderwick there. That stands out to me as much more confident and knowing more than some of the others. Here's the purple worm from back then. And here's a doozy. Here's the owlbear from then. Even my signature I barely knew. So the owlbear must have been early on. Let's see if we got dates so we can get an idea. So the owlbear was done in February of 93. Purple worm was also done in February. This guy was done in March, and these guys were done in March. So it gives you kind of an idea. There's the time period when I was actually working on. But they were marker with, on ballpoint pen with a little bit of marker. It looks like there's a little bit of whiteout, or not whiteout, probably just white gouache or white acrylic paint. Some of them also had... pastel, so definitely I'm using pastel pencils on him. You can see it.
Eric Burkert wants to know about putting your initials on your art and how you change the style of the letters over time.
I think I just started we couldn't sign it.
Oh, you couldn't sign it?
We weren't allowed to sign it, but I could put initials.
Interesting.
Yeah, they didn't want a big signature, but they said if I did small initials, that was allowed. So I did the initials, and I think as time went on, it started off very almost like a font. It was very almost, like I was drawing a font. It was very kind of like this, like that. And with a little ball and a ball, like that's how it really started. And then by the end, I was drawing it. It was more like this.
Hannah just had a stunned face because she was born in 93.
There you go. So my Kuo Towo.
Were your pens waterproof that you used?
Yes, they would have had to be, right?
Mm-hmm. Have you ever done a comic book cover?
No, no comic books for me. And I studied comic books right out of art school. I mean, I studied with Will Eisner, and I learned a lot. But and we were dating at that point, Ange, because I remember going to class and then seeing you afterwards. I feel like, or does that sound right?
What, that we were...
When I was going to Will Eisner's
yeah, we were
class?
going out.
Yeah, we were going out then. So I was definitely...
Yeah, because that's when I remember Ray came over and you came and you were showing me our friend Ray Nadeau, who works with Disney, works in animation.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing Ray and being like, whoa, that guy can draw.
Yeah, there was some incredible... great artists. There was a lot of just comic book collectors in there.
You did the Werewolf comic for White Wolf.
I did do the Werewolf comic for White Wolf, but I don't think I did a cover for that. I think I just did issues or pages. And the thing about that is those first few pages, the first quarter of it was all me, and then I got slammed with Planescape, and so I had to. Then I penciled.
got somebody else to ink
I penciled it, or maybe even Ray penciled it. Somebody
Ray
else
did it.
Ray penciled it. Somebody else inked it, and I maybe colored
I think
it.
you penciled it.
Yeah,
Didn't you?
I don't remember, but they're garbage. You know, by the end, I just didn't have the time to spend to make them look good, and I was amazed that White Wolf hired me after that because I felt like I really blew it on the second half.
It was so funny that you think about that time. There was kind of a rivalry.
Absolutely,
There was definitely
TSR was not the top
between TSR and White Wolf.
I would say White Wolf was definitely much more popular with
White Wolf was
with
the new kids on the block.
but they were the new goth kids. Like you had
yeah.
Tim Bradstreet and some really amazing artists doing some really cool. They really made role playing look a way that you've never seen before. You know, they're like cool. They look like characters in a rock band or something. You know, it was really, really cool.
It's like Interview with a Vampire. It was very. There was something just very intriguing about it. You know what I mean? It was like. Not only do you love the movie Lost Boys, you can be one.
That's really it. I'd say Lost Boys definitely had a huge influence on that look of their whole thing. And so I definitely tried to make amends when I did the artwork for Changeling. I really tried to bring it and do some really solid artwork for them because they had been so gracious about me kind of blowing it on the on the Werewolf comic. Comics are just not my thing.
Eduardo says I'm a huge White Wolf boy. Well, the funny thing is, you go to Gen Con, and one of the big things that they did was a celebrity boxing match.
Yes.
And
yeah, I remember that.
The big final match was usually someone from TSR fighting someone from White Wolf.
Literally, these people that don't box just getting in a ring and punching each other out.
It was insane.
Yeah. White Wolf would always bring a hearse. That was part of their booth, too. They would always have a hearse at their booth.
And that was crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy times.
Think about that. The fact that they were like, oh, we're going to not only do we have a rivalry, we're going to physically fight each other.
Yeah. You got to remember.
And by the way, it's a bunch of artists.
Yeah.
White Wolf. Okay, so Arnie Sweckel
fought for TSR, right?
Fought for TSR. I don't remember who the White Wolf boxer was, but they were a real boxer. Like, this person was someone who was actually boxing.
Yeah, I remember Arnie was bleeding and everything, and we were kind of like, dude, that's your money. You're punching him with the thing you make money with.
We're like, what are you doing, dude? You're an artist. What are you doing getting in the ring? But everybody was trying to, psych him up to get in. And then I think I actually almost got in a fight with somebody from White Wolf, some girl.
They were like Slytherin.
Yeah, it was. It was like Slytherin.
They were Slytherin.
They were
Slytherin.
They were taunting people.
They were Slytherin.
Yeah,
and they relished.
Illustrator Smackdown.
They relished in it. It was, kind of crazy.
Yep. It was nuts.
But they were, the core team of people I got to know that were there were terrific. They were just great. They were lovely people. They were all great, including Mark. I had very limited with Mark Reinhagen, who kind of created the company, but he was a great guy too, and so it was a great time. I suspect
the 90s
as the 90s become more on trend, Ange, it wouldn't surprise me to see White Wolf's look return back around the patent leather Matrix Lost Boys look of that.
I don't know.
Become emulated again, or it'll just be vampires wearing fanny packs, and that'll be as far as it goes. I don't know.
Well, I think the part of the 90s isn't. Emo's kind of already done its thing, right? Which was basically like the goths.
Emo never goes away. It's always
emo
there.
Forever?
Emo forever. There'll always be people who need the Cure. I love the Cure. It's a huge Cure fan.
Yeah, come on, Illustrator Smackdown. They didn't have an artist. It was for them. Like, Arnie Sweckel was the artist, but on White Wolf, Team White Wolf, it was one of their art directors or something.
So I don't even remember.
I just remember, because Arnie's a big dude.
Yeah.
And then the other guy got in the ring, and I was like,
oh my God, yeah.
This is not good.
It's not going to be good. And it was bloody. It was bloody.
Yep. But as you would expect for Dungeons and Dragons versus White Wolf, I mean, you knew it was it's crazy.
Crazy. That was a crazy year.
Who knows? 10 years from now, it could be the cast of Game of Thrones versus Walking Dead. They can all be in the ring together.
Yeah, pretty much, right?
Yes, the cure is goth and not emo.
Oh,
Thank you.
get it right, DiTerlizzi.
Tickle me emo.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. So here's kind of the
Emo will never be goth.
the Kuo-toa. He has a little he's got a little shoulder holster here. I suppose I'd give him something. I'm not quite sure what it would be. I don't know. Like
I think he's just pushing a grocery cart. He just looks like he's going to the store.
He really does. He really looks like he's looking for toilet paper and
David Howe's going back to work tomorrow.
Oh, David Howe, well, hang in there, man.
And it's been great having you here, David Howe. Thank you for being a fan for all these years.
Yes. I hope you're drawing. It looks like you've been.
And for joining us through quarantine and Team COVID, Drawn to Fantasy. It's been awesome having you here.
Yeah, definitely. So, Ange, I think this guy's...
You can have a fanny pack.
I kind of feel like he wants one. He's probably wearing it too low, but, you know, that's how we wore him in the 90s, right, Ange?
That's how you wore yours.
Real low, really.
Tony, you had a fanny pack.
Of course I did. When you go to the Disney theme parks, this was the bomb diggity.
Make him look like you looked in the 90s. Even that little hat you wore.
Oh, he'd have a little ponytail. Definitely the bugged out, scared eyes are right? That's definitely my eyes.
Yes.
And then, yeah, I wore those little, we called them boobakas. I don't know what they were really called. It was just, they were these little, like...
He's a cute-toa.
There were these little hats that looked like this. They had no bill. They were just these little black, they almost looked like, it was like an African, yeah, it was like a weird hat that
And
just...
you wore that.
All the time.
All the time.
Like that.
And your little necklaces.
And I'd wear a little beaded necklace thing. There'd be a thing hanging like right here. Some necklace. And there would be right here a ponytail. I've thought, remember when I did the stuff I did in the 80s thing that one summer?
Yeah.
I thought about like Adventures in Art School or whatever to draw that version of Tony. You know, instead of stuff I did in the 90s. Because stuff...
It's a cute Tony!
Oh my gosh, that's good.
That's good. Thank you, Craig Austin.
The Kua Tony. Yeah, he's holding a pencil.
Ooh, a fanny pack. Not a fanny pack.
That's good. There'd be a big zipper. That thing's full of little art supplies or chum, because he is a creature of the deep, Ange.
Those would have been bowling shoes he would have had on.
I was that guy. Bowling shoes, weird little vests.
Yeah, give him a weird little vest.
I'm glad this is amusing you. I live to amuse. Now he just looks like, what's that little monkey in Aladdin that gets turned in, like he's been zapped by a genie?
Oh, yeah, what is his name?
Boo Boo or Zubu or something?
Boo-boos and Zubas.
Yeah, I feel like he's just that guy.
Abu.
Is it? Apu?
Isn't that his name?
I don't know. He gets turned into an elephant at one point. Well, now he's turned into
full on Duckman.
He's full on
Abu.
Yeah, God, I love Duckman. I looked at Ducky's fashion and I was like, oh, because you could afford it. It was at a thrift shop. You looked at Ferris Bueller. We watched Ferris Bueller the other day with Soph, and that jacket probably was like a $500 jacket that he's wearing. Yeah, no one was.
You weren't gonna just walk into Oak Tree and buy that.
No.
Couldn't afford that.
I couldn't afford that jacket. Well,
Amanda Putnam Palmer is going to make a quiche.
That sounds good.
Delicious.
Sounds good.
Enjoy.
I think that on that we should call it a day. I think we've got some
Kuatoni.
For Kuatoni. I think
it's Kuatoni.
I don't know. We got a junk pot coming, so we've got about another week or so, right? And then we're gonna bid you all farewell from our daily drawing. But until then, we're gonna keep it rocking and rolling. I think tomorrow I will be working on the Kenny and the Dragon box set, so you guys will see
I
me
have a
get to
winner.
paint. All right, you got a winner?
I do. I have a winner today.
All right, let me
Hold
see.
on.
Let me know when you're ready, and then we'll get some good. Someone will get a sketch and some reference material. I'll post the all the reference material from the Dover books online today too. So if anybody wants to take their stab at drawing some of these classic Dungeons and Dragons monsters using the exact same reference, I'd be curious to see what you come up with and how you would improve it or solve the problem differently.
Don't think this person has won, and I'm very surprised.
All right.
Surprised at that one.
Okay.
Am I right?
Let me just do a quick.
The list is getting longer and longer, but this person is not on it.
I'm not seeing it, Ange. I think you got a winner.
Sweet.
Nice. You good?
Yes.
You ready for the drum roll?
Yes, please. Ladies and gentlemen, today's winner of the jump pot is Craig Austin.
Craig Austin, you won.
Congratulations, Craig Austin. You are the proud owner of Kuatomi.
You will get some junk pot, Craig. Craig, please send us a direct message with your snail mail address so we can send this to you. There you go. I'm signing it right now. Thanks for tuning in. I'll sign it here. And we'll get you the other stuff as well, Craig.
Hey, draw yourself
As
as
a D&D.
a D&D or some type of creature version of yourself.
That sounds fun.
That's your homework, people.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We had a great time. Stay safe. Stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow.